We've just come out of a very interesting conference here at CIGI. CIGI, as you know, is really was one of the spark plugs at the very beginning of the creation of the G20, and it's now at a position where it's got to continue. The G20 is now going from adolescence to maturity, and I think CIGI is taking it there, and certainly this conference would have reflected that. As an example, the financial crisis we've just gone through was one that had at its core a banking crisis of global reach. And we've got to make sure that countries with decimated balance sheets, as there are so many, Greece is only one example, aren't going to be facing further financial crises. And so one of the main discussions here was about a body called the Financial Stability Board, which is a new body based on an old one that really didn't totally work. And the creation of the Financial Stability Board is incredible in terms of its capacity, if in fact it functions properly. To deal with ongoing bank regulation, to make sure that countries, in fact, have the proper structures in place, and to prevent the kind of crisis you've just seen. Probably the best discussion that I have seen on the Financial Stability Board occurred here at CIGI. Well, that mutual assessment is absolutely crucial. That, in other words, peer reviews of the capacity of countries to properly regulate their banking systems is now more important than ever, as we have just seen. The real issue, though, in my opinion, is not the peer review. It's not the mutual assessment. It's what happens when countries ignore those peer reviews. And I don't think that we've really come to grips with this. I think that there's going to have to be tangible means of enforcement. I think that here at the CIGI conference there was probably more agreement on that than not, but I think that we've really got to get down into the details now. That's where the devil is, and that's where the solution is. Well, I think that I guess I would give you two answers to that question. Clearly, it is to follow the major issues. The major issues are the bank crisis, in my opinion, global poverty. The CIGI has to deal with this. These are 20 countries. South Africa is there, and many countries who are on continents where there's enormous amount of difficulty. And I think that we've got to really come at development in a very strong way. The G20 has to. I know that the countries like China and Brazil want to do that. They're now stepping up to the mark. And I think that we've got to advance the process. Clearly, the climate change meetings that will be taking place, the one in Mexico, is very important. I don't think we can turn our backs on that. So those are the agenda items which I believe the G20 must deal with, and therefore, obviously, the G20 think tank, such as CIGI, has to deal with. But I think there's another concept as well. I really believe that the fact that we've now got to be reaching out to partners in other countries. CIGI has an example, a very strong partnership with Brookings in the United States, but the partnerships that exist in England and in China, or in Europe with the OECD, have got to be extended to India, have got to be extended to Africa. I think this concept of really reaching out to other think tanks of a caliber of CIGI, which is the highest, I think that now is very, very important, because don't forget, the whole purpose of creating the G20 was to bring the governments of East and West and the emerging economies together. Well, I think that if you're a think tank and what you're trying to do is to influence public policy, then we've got to do the same thing. We've got to reach out to other like-minded, or those who may well disagree with us, but we got to reach out to those people who are thinking and seeking to influence public policy in all of the G20 countries.